Yo, book nerds! I have been reading a lot of ancient Greek literature lately, and I plan to still read more. I had just finished reading the Iliad by Homer, and I have moved on to read the Odyssey, and I have a few more pieces of Greek literature in mind to follow after the Odyssey. And reading all this Greek literature has made me think about a class that I took in undergrad where we discussed the different kinds of Greek literature, and I wanted to talk to you about it. So there's three that I want to talk about today, and they all kind of center around this idea of the Greek Wheel of Fortune. No, I am not talking about the TV show Wheel of Fortune. It is different. Now, for this video, I want to add the disclaimer that I'm not an expert. I am just going off of what I remember from my class, and I took that class about probably 8 or 9 years ago. So, and if I get any details wrong, I apologize for that, but I did do some quick fact checking just to make sure that my memory was correct before I started this video. And so I'm going off of my memory and some quick Google searches to refresh and confirm what I remembered. So disclaimer. But I think it's important to have even just a basic sense of these three genres and the Greek Wheel of Fortune, because it still affects genres to this day and literature to this day. Not even just literature, it has spread into movies and other plays. So we're going to talk about that. So what is this Greek Wheel of Fortune that I'm talking about? So in Greek mythology, you can imagine this wheel, and there is a goddess that controls the wheel. Sometimes she is called Tyche or Taish. I'm not sure how the pronunciation is, but that is the goddess of luck, or sometimes she is called Fortuna, which is the goddess of fortune. Either way, whatever description you go by, whatever name you go by, she is a goddess that controls the wheel of fortune. And basically the wheel, if you imagine yourself on this wheel, your fate, your circumstances in life go up and down as the wheel turns. As the goddess spins the wheel around, life can be good for you, it can go down and be bad for you, it can come back up and be good for you, and it goes in cycles like that. So your fate is in her hands, essentially. Now, this idea has affected Greek literature all the way back to Greek theater. And so I want to talk about the three main genres that began in Greek theater, and that is the Greek tragedy, the Greek comedy, and the Greek satyr play. So let's start with Greek tragedy. In a Greek tragedy, you have your main character who starts out on top. He's got it made, he's happy, life's good, maybe he's rich. In some way, shape, or form, he's on top and life is good. But by the end of the play or piece of literature, our main character is going to be at the bottom of the wheel. His fortunes have changed, his luck has run out, he is now at the bottom of the wheel, and the work of literature will end there. Our character doesn't save himself, he doesn't get out of it, he may even die. Like, that is where it ends, with them at the bottom. So that's Greek tragedy. Then you have Greek comedy, which comedy is not like what you think of today, like ha-ha, funny, laugh out loud kind of thing. In Greek comedy, there definitely can be jokes made, but it's not so outright comedic. It's not like slapstick funny. It's not like raunchy funny. It's different. So basically, with Greek comedy, you have a set of characters, and maybe they start off on top. Typically, they start off on top of the wheel. Sometimes they may start off at the bottom already. But you have this group of characters, and during the course of the piece of literature, they're going to go to the bottom of the wheel and then come back out of the bottom and end up back on top by the end. And another difference between tragedy and comedy is when you have a Greek comedy, the fall to the bottom of the wheel is not going to be as severe as with a tragedy. So like with a tragedy, if you end up on the bottom, you're probably poor, maybe even dead, or everyone you know is dead. Like, it's bad, bad, bad. But with a comedy, usually when you're at the bottom, some kind of miscommunication or some kind of blunder or folly that the main characters have gotten themselves into by their own lack of wits, essentially. Something happened to screw up whatever they wanted, and now they're stuck trying to figure it back out. And they will. They will figure it out, and everything will be righted, and we'll have our happily ever after when they get back on top of the wheel. Usually in ancient Greek comedies too, you'll have everyone paired off by the end. Everyone is a couple. Everyone gets their happy ending. Very rarely will you have a character that's not paired off with somebody. And so everyone gets that resolution and we walk away happy. Then you have the Greek satyr play, which kind of combines elements of both comedy and tragedy. The Greek satyr play is kind of defined by the chorus of satyrs that is included. So in a tragedy, say you have a Greek play that's a tragedy, you'll probably have a chorus in that, but they're not necessarily satyrs. In a satyr play, the chorus are all dressed as satyrs, and often they are depicted with large, erect phalluses. So that's interesting. The Greeks, they thought dick jokes were funny, and just put it very bluntly, I guess. But the satyr play combines elements of tragedy and comedy. So you're gonna have this character at the beginning that's up top. He's gonna have some kind of dramatic fall, but he's gonna get out of it. He's going to have a resolution to that. Another defining characteristic of satyr plays are the phallic jokes and sexual innuendos in them. They are raunchy. They are dramatic. And so it's very interesting. They're kind of like a subgenre of the comedy, but they add in elements of the tragedy as well. All of these different kinds of plays, they all explain the rises and falls in life. And that seeps into modern day so much. You can easily see this influence in Shakespeare's work. Shakespeare has tragedies and comedies, and they are all following this ancient Greek tragedy and ancient Greek comedy setup. It continues to modern day. We have tragedies still in literature and in movies and TV shows where our main characters start on top and then they end up on the bottom and then it stops. I'm going to give some examples here, so these might be spoilers if you haven't seen them, just because of the nature of tragedy. So forewarning, I'm going to give some examples here. But I think Gone with the Wind would be considered a Greek tragedy because you have Scarlet, who starts off on top of the world in her mind. She is the belle of the ball. She gets everything she wants, and by the end, she has everything taken away from her, basically. An even more modern version would be the show Sons of Anarchy. You have Jax Teller, who has everything he wants, and life is good, and then he ends up at the bottom by the end of the show. The list goes on. There is so many, but I'll just give you those to sit with. Also, in modern influences, the comedic genre has changed a little bit since it was Greek comedy. Now, I like to think that Greek comedy aligns more with rom-coms. Typically in a rom-com, you have your set group of characters and something happens that makes them fall out with each other, and then by the end, there's a happy resolution and everyone's paired off and back together, and yes, it's a good happy ending. The satyr play, I feel like, is what has evolved into the comedic genres of like raunchy comedy, even melodramatic type shows and movies and literature. And so you can see those same influences there. There's some kind of misunderstanding, dramatic issue that they deal with, and they overcome it by the end. So that's kind of my take on the Greek Wheel of Fortune and how it's influenced literature throughout the ages and in the different genres. And I just wanted to share it with you in case you want to do some reading of ancient Greek plays or poetry or novels. And I think it's just interesting too to know the similarities between the originals and modern day. If you have anything to add to this, I would appreciate it. If I forgot something, because again, I was going off my memory for most of this, I would love for you to drop in the comments and add that to the discussion. If I got something incorrect, please correct me too as well. But I just wanted to throw this out there because maybe it will interest you and you'd like to know the history behind some of this. And if you pick up a book and you know it's labeled as a tragedy, now maybe you'll know what you're getting yourself into if you didn't before. Same with a comedy. That's all I have for you guys today. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for talking books with me.